Okay, so have you heard about this like massive water conservation plan in Andhra Pradesh?
Yeah, I think I saw something about it. What's going on?
Well, they're trying to build a ton of farm ponds, like a
Uh,
truly ridiculous number.
really? How many are we talking about?
1.55 lakh.
Wow.
Yeah. And the craziest part, they're trying to get it all done by May.
That's incredibly ambitious.
It is. And if they can actually pull it off, it could be a total game changer. For this deep dive, we're going to look into these announcements from the Deputy Chief Minister, Pawan Kalyan, and try to really get a sense of how this farm pond thing is going to work. Plus, we'll touch on some pretty interesting developments on the road construction front, too.
Sounds good to me. Where exactly are all these big changes happening?
So everything's centered around Puttakerla.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Orvikal Mandal, which is in the Kurnool district. It's fascinating how these really big policy decisions always come down to very specific places.
Absolutely. And Andhra Pradesh has had its share of water issues over the years. A lot of people don't realize just how much of a problem water scarcity is in that part of India.
Right, and Kurnool is one of those regions that's constantly being hit by drought.
Exactly.
So for Kalyan to make this announcement about farm ponds right there in Puttakerla, well, it definitely sends a message.
It does. It shows where the government's priorities lie and where they see the greatest needs.
So let's get into the specifics of these farm ponds. 1.55 lakh by May to store 1 TMC of water.
1 TMC. That.
A lot of water.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think we need to break this down for our listeners. What exactly is a farm pond? And why are we making such a big deal about them?
Sure. Basically, you can think of a farm pond as a small reservoir. They're often man-made and built right on the farmland.
Like a big bathtub for rainwater.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. But the great thing about them is that they're not just for irrigation. I mean, that's important, of course, especially in drier places like Kurnool. But farm ponds can also help replenish groundwater, which is crucial for the long term.
Right. It's not just about having water on the surface. It's about what's happening underground, too.
Exactly. Plus, these ponds can provide water for livestock and even create opportunities for fish farming. It's a really multifaceted approach to water security.
It really is. So the fact that they're starting this whole thing right there in Puttacherla, it's not just some abstract plan.
Exactly. It's tangible.
And for you, I think the key takeaway is that this initiative isn't just about hitting a specific number of ponds.
No, it's about creating a whole network of local water storage managed by the farmers themselves.
Now let's talk about something else that Kalyan announced. Roads.
Oh, yeah. What about those?
So he's saying that under the current NDA coalition, they've built nearly 4,000 kilometers of roads in just 8 months. And get this, it only cost them 1,600 crore rupees.
Wow, that's a lot of road in a short amount of time.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that he directly compared this to the previous YSRC government. Kalyan claimed that it took them 5 years to build the same amount of road.
5 years.
5 years.
That's a huge difference. If those numbers are accurate, I mean.
It's definitely a stark contrast. And, for our listeners, this kind of difference in speed can have a huge impact. I mean, better roads mean it's easier and faster to transport goods.
Right, and that can boost economic activity across the whole region.
So this focus on faster infrastructure development, it's something worth paying attention to. It makes you wonder, what led to such a big difference in pace? Maybe there were changes in policy, or a shift in resources, or a more streamlined approach to managing these projects. It's definitely worth exploring further.
I agree.
And building on this idea of development, Kalyan also talked about revitalizing something called the Panchayati Raj system.
Now, that's a whole other topic.
Right. For those who might not know, the Panchayati Raj system is basically about local self-governance in villages. It's how villages take care of their own affairs.
Like a mini democracy right at the grassroots level.
Exactly. And Kalyan believes it hasn't been given enough attention in recent years. He really stressed how important it is for creating jobs and financial stability in rural areas.
I see where he's going with this.
And this ties in directly with another thing he talked about, NREGA.
Ah, yes, the National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme.
Right. For you listening, NREGA is all about guaranteeing paid work for people in rural areas. It's a safety net, but it's also about building infrastructure and community assets.
And Kalyan seems to think that a strong Panchayati Raj system is key to making sure that programs like NRGA are actually effective.
Exactly.
Because the local communities are the ones who know their own needs best.
Right. So the idea is that if you empower these local bodies, give them the resources and the authority they need, then they can manage these programs in a way that truly benefits the people.
It's about putting power back in the hands of the people on the ground.
And, Kurnool District is already showing what's possible when you focus on local development.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're leading the state when it comes to village development projects. They've already built 117 kilometers of CC roads.
And what about the NREGA roads? How are they doing with those?
Their completion rate for those roads is 98%.
Wow. That's seriously impressive. That suggests a high level of coordination and commitment.
Right. There's clearly something good happening in Kurnool.
And what struck me as particularly meaningful was this effort to connect tribal villages that have over 100 residents to the road network.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. No more Dulles.
That's huge. Think about what that means for those communities.
It's about dignity. It's about access to basic services like healthcare and education. It's about not being isolated anymore.
It really is. This kind of development can have a ripple effect throughout the entire community.
It shows that they're not just focusing on big numbers and statistics. They're actually thinking about the human impact.
And on that note, what did you think about Kalyan's personal donation to Konadela Village?
Oh, that was interesting. 50 lakh rupees from his own trust.
And he's promised to spend 2 days in Konadela to address local issues directly. It definitely adds a personal touch, doesn't it?
It does. And, for the people in Konadela, it's probably a big deal. It shows that he's invested, even on a personal level.
Right.
And, speaking of personal touches, did you hear about that young boy who showed up dressed as Gabbar Singh?
Oh, yeah, I saw a picture. That's amazing.
Such a great reminder of how important popular culture is in politics, especially in a place like Andhra Pradesh.
Absolutely. Those kinds of moments really resonate with people.
For you to really understand the scale of this whole thing, the event in Puducherry was a pretty big deal. It wasn't just Kalyan.
Who else was there?
Well, the MP from Nanyal was there, along with a bunch of MLAs from the area. Plus, some of the top bureaucrats from the Panchayat Raj Department and the district administration.
Sounds like they're trying to show a united front.
It does.
This is the kind of collaboration that's needed to tackle these really big challenges.
So we've got this massive farm pond initiative, claims of really fast progress in road construction, and a renewed focus on giving power back to local communities. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of some pretty serious water challenges.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. And while it all sounds promising, there are some practical questions we have to ask.
Like what?
Well, for starters, is it even possible to build that many farm ponds in such a short time frame?
That's a good question. I mean, we're talking about May. That's not very far away.
Exactly. And what about the logistics? Do they have the resources, the manpower, the expertise to pull this off? And, the terrain in Andhra Pradesh isn't exactly uniform.
Right. Some areas are going to be more challenging than others.
Exactly. And beyond the practicalities, we have to think about the long-term impact. Will these farm ponds really make a difference when it comes to water security? Will these new roads actually lead to economic growth?
And will strengthening the Panchayati Raj system really empower these rural communities in the long run? Those are the real questions we need to keep in mind.
So for you listening, the thing to think about is this. Are these ambitious plans just that, ambitions? Or are they the start of something truly transformative? How will they actually play out on the ground? And what will it mean for the future of Andhra Pradesh? These are questions we'll continue to explore as this story develops.
I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Me too. This is definitely something we'll be keeping a close eye on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure. It was a fascinating discussion.